Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I've Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
And welcome to part 2 of our Feminist Book Club. I guess it's a good thing we did do it. We skipped a month, having 2 episodes dedicated to this one book. Worth it, by the way. Worth it. Mm-hmm. And what are we talking about? If you have missed this previous recording, we're talking about our Feminist Book Club pick, which is called Ghost Summer by Tananarive Due. Ghost Summer is her first collection of short stories that she published in 2015, and it is a beaut. It has won many awards, deservedly so. A couple of these tales have turned into productions.
Yeah.
We need to go check that out, I think. Actually, it should be on our horror list. Why not? Come on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we have made it. I don't know if it's halfway through in the actual book, but in our halfway through point, and we are back with part 2. And just again with the content warning, we are talking about some dark stuff. It is some dark historical horror with enslavement, death, murder, disease, apocalypse. I'm trying to think. Anything else that I should add to that list? Dystopian hopelessness.
Existentialism. No. Brief mentions of sexual assault, but we're not going to talk about it. But if you get the book,
yes. So we are back, and we're picking back up in the middle of it with After Moon. And interestingly, so we ended last one with the cloning one called Like Daughter. And this one also felt like it was completely separate, because a lot of this is interlinked. A lot of her stories are interlinked, but these two were like kind of on its own, because it did. I was like, oh, wait, what are we talking about? Because it took me a minute to adjust to what we were listening to. And this story, After Moon, is one of those stories. So in this story, we meet Kenya, who discovers a dermatologist who advertises to be an expert in lycanthropy. So werewolves. And it took me a minute to figure that out. I'm not going to lie. I was like, wait, are we talking about werewolves here? We are. We are? We are.
Yes.
Essentially, she's talking about her experience after the moon, the full moon. That's called After Moon, where she kind of has a relief to being her normal form, even though she still needs her bloody raw steak and was craving one for the night. But she did see the sign, was a little bit angry. Was like, this is not funny, and I'm going to go tell him so. Right. So she walks into this office. But because, again, she was offended, but all of a sudden, as she walks in, she becomes somewhat hypnotized by the music and the atmosphere. She talks about the scents and how she didn't know what to do, and it all calmed her, and she really liked it, and she was drawn to it. Soon after, she was greeted by Dr. Jack, who throws her a thing of raw meat. Like, here. And she gobbles it up, is very excited. He immediately knew what and who she was. It turns out he was not joking when he put that on the sign. He understood her condition so much so that she did come back. She realized he may be actually helpful. At first, she was just like, I don't know if you can do anything for me. Are you one of those people who are trying to find your people? Like, are you trying to wife me because I don't want to be with you? Or are you actually trying to help? He talks about how he does groups. They do outings together where they go and do their thing as a crew, their wolf thing. He talks about people coming to see him to treat different symptoms, as he says, including hairiness. Talks about a person who comes from D.C. To see him, travels on the train to come and see him. And that really fascinates her, because she's like, who is this person that would travel calmly to come here and get treatment? So she kind of has this both hope and kind of doubt about what he can do, especially with her grandfather, who has taught her to really fully embrace the wolf in her. Like, that it's a shame to buy meat instead of hunting for it. That to be hairy is to be glorious type of conversation. And she hates this, especially because her parents are not like this. And they've done so much try to hide that. To the point, I don't think the father even knows. Her father even knows about this condition.
No.
She just kind of, her mother hid her away by sending her to the grandfather's house because she was too ashamed of this condition, which came out in her childhood, actually, after a dog bit her.
Yes.
Which, by the way, the doctor was like, that's not a thing.
That's a myth.
Then she's like, well, that happened to me. And he's like, someone's lying here, but okay, I'll take your word for it. Like, he's somewhat condescending,
Yeah.
but at the same time, also very like empathetic, also trying to make some money. So all those things are happening here. But she does return, and she talks about what she wanted, which is to help with her hairiness. So she has spots on her chest to the point that she got humiliated as a young girl when making out with a boy and found her patch of hairy chest. And she was so upset. She didn't ever want to think about it again. She's currently engaged to a person who doesn't have that condition, so doesn't understand what that is. And when the doctor asks what she does, when she does see him, she shaves, or he's never seen her, or like that. So two of those options. And he's boring, but she's okay with boring. With it, because he at least likes her, kind of conversation.
Yeah, she made him sound like he's very sweet.
Very
he's
sweet.
Very nice. Yeah.
Yes. So while they were talking about the conditions and her grandfather and all these things and the family members, she talks about why she wants to lead a normal life, including trying to, stay away from the phases, and why she needs this cream. He offers her this cream that she has to put on this times a day and how it will get rid of it. It is very expensive, but it works. He also is trying to get her to come to these retreats and meet some of the others, and very surprised when she says she's not interested. And he pretty much says, good luck.
Good luck with your fiance.
Life.
Yeah.
Normal life. Good luck with that. And that's how we end. Like, it was such an interesting, like, you have a monster, what we would understand as a monster, just being like, trying to be normal.
Like talking about getting hair waxed. And like,
he's like, oh my God, stop doing that. That's going to be painful and it's not going to help you and you're going to have a condition. The doctor was quite funny to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought maybe he was a predator at first, but I was like, oh no, he's not. Okay.
Yeah.
He's just
I was giving him the side eye at first, but I was like, oh, okay.
She was giving him the side eye. So while I was with her, I was like, all right, who is this? So essentially, this is about trying to live through her hardships, but hoping to ignore the problem, as well as the fact that it's just a part of who she is and her not want to accept that because no one around her would.
Yes. And if you haven't listened to part 1, so at the end of these short stories, Due gives her like what prompt caused her to write this, where it was included. Usually another publication or something. And she talked about this one. I thought this was really interesting because you can apply it in a lot of ways in terms of, just being a woman and being told you have to get rid of hair, unwanted hair, or eating certain things or stuff like that. And the fact that it ends there where it's you don't know if she's going to have this happy, normal life or if she might kind of embrace what her grandfather kept telling her.
Right.
And go meet up with that guy from DC she was so interested in.
That DC moment, I was like, I want them to meet too.
Yeah.
Because she has this envisioning of him living this normal life, being on it. And that's that conversation. Like, what is this normal life? Commuting on a train to come see a doctor, a specialist. That's normal. But the trying to gather and go have retreats, that's not normal for her. Right.
And she was just really interested because she hadn't really had a connection outside of her grandfather with anybody else.
Right.
So, you got this group and you've got somebody who's willing to travel because it was taking place in New York. So willing to travel from DC to New York to find this doctor and to find this group. It was an interesting story. It kind of reminded me of that game we played that we talked about, Coffee Talk. Where,
the random like creatures come in and just like chilling.
It's a werewolf. Oh yeah, that's cool. That's a vampire. Yeah, I just want coffee. It's okay.
It's a fairy. That's an alien the whole time. Okay, spoiler alert. But it was. I think, and it was not your typical horror. It was just like with horror characters.
Yeah, that one was much more of kind of I think the only part to me that was like a horror was like, oh God, this doctor, I don't know what's up. So it's like anticipatory horror.
It was.
It was actually a very kind of cute, interesting story.
Interaction. Like cute for like just a normal conversation, but for monsters.
Yes.
Oh, and they're not monsters. I'm like, as if werewolves exist and I'm going to offend them. But
yeah. Yeah, but that was kind of the point.
We don't think you're a monster unless you kill people, so don't kill people.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like how he throws like raw meat at her. And...
Yeah. So it was a nice little intro. It was like, oh, okay. But with that, we come back to more of her themes that we have seen throughout in this one called Trial Day. In it, we have Letitia, who is a young girl living with her father and stepmother. But she also talks about her half-brother, Wallace, who lives a day's drive away, is what it says. And she called him brother because of his love and kindness toward her, like brother so-and-so, but like just brother. Her stepmother, however, did not like her. Did like Wallace, it seemed. She did like brother. He can make her laugh, but, we don't know too much. But she also, the stepmother doesn't seem to like the father, like the person she's married to either. She just kind of looked at all of them with disdain, essentially. Yeah. And one of the things I forgot to add while I was writing this is that Letitia can see truth. Essentially, she can see fear. She can see how you're feeling. Like, so she knew her stepmother hated her, even if her stepmother never said it. She could see it. So that's kind of a gift she has. But for Letitia, she missed her brother, who was always loving and kind to her, and he was gone for a while, to the point she started like wondering why he wasn't coming back. She soon learned that he was in jail. Like reports were showing that he had gone to jail. But she learned more detail through a letter that the NAACP sent to her father. And she finds out that brother was arrested for armed robbery of a white man's shop who hates him. Apparently, they had a whole thing previously. Of course, there is racism, as the testimonies were different. So different people said different things about whether or not he had a gun. The NAACP requested that her father, come to the trial to help his son's case as an upstanding businessman, or that maybe brother may be executed, as several other young black men had been recently under false pretenses, like saying that they did these things, and we know this, falsely accused of crimes in order to put a death sentence or keep them in jail longer, or sometimes just to lynch them. When Letitia asked her father at dinner if he was going, he said he wasn't, and tried to make her be quiet. Like everything got very upsetting because she wasn't supposed to know. Obviously, she went and read a letter she wasn't supposed to, so everything kind of got into upheaval. Stepmother, she becomes very upset, reminding him he promised he wouldn't, making Letitia more upset about it, and him swearing he wouldn't. So this goes back and forth, and Letitia is upset, and he forces her into her room because he's trying to get her to be quiet. Later, Letitia goes to see her own mother, who I think they essentially call her a voodoo woman in the actual story. And she has no teeth, but is still beautiful and does a lot of spells. So Letitia goes to see her mother at this time, who her mother says that the stepmother had a strong hold on the father, and that her powers and magic was more powerful than her own, and that Letitia was the only one who could break that hold. And she had to do it by sacrificing her cat named Midnight at midnight.
Yep. The mother was like, that you knew when you named her.
Yeah. And by the way, it's at this point, just side note, that I'm like, do I fast forward past this? Because oh my God, what? So she's saying that she has to take something she loves and sacrifice it and bleed it in order to free this curse. Like, no chickens will do it, all these things. And Letitia loves her cat. She loves her cat. Letitia was sad about it, and went back and forth about why she should or if she shouldn't. And she finally had to say, I have to do this for my brother. I have to save my brother. And while she was trying, she does get a poke in there, but her father actually stops her. There is blood, but the cat is okay.
Yes.
The cat is okay. And the father stops her, is angry, and gets upset and takes her back to the room. But it is that same night, he packs his bags and heads to the trial against stepmothers, begging and pleading and forcing him, trying to stay. And he finally goes, and Letitia is able to break that hold. And that's how the story ends.
Yep.
It's a lot.
It was a lot. That also was another one. It went places I wasn't expecting. But okay, Due said about this one, quote, I wanted to fix a broken piece of my family history. My grandmother, the late Lottie Powell Sears Houston, clearly remembered her half-brother being on trial for his life, and her father was too intimidated to testify on his behalf, which she considered cowardly for the rest of her life, though I can only imagine the institutional racism standing in his way. Her brother died on death row. Did brother die in this story? Maybe, maybe not. But at least Letitia gave her father strength enough to try.
Right. For when I read that my heart, like even now, my heart just like feels like it's being squeezed.
Yeah.
Because she understanding like generational trauma and like wanting to fix that and what could you do if you could fix that. There's so much in that conversation because exactly as she's saying, institutional racism, because the father goes back and forth in talking about how his testimony won't do anything because in the end, it will just ruin his reputation and not help his son's reputation. So this back and forth about like they will use it against him to take his stuff away or accuse him of being on the same level as an armed robber. And that is that conversation of like what really happens. Does this help or does this hurt? And who does it help and who does it hurt? And him talking about the NAACP being corrupt and just trying to make money, and that if they can't help, then how can he help? Like that, there was this whole back and forth, which is too real. Like, there's so many in this conversation, especially those who are like marginalized and intersectionally marginalized. Like what is the helpful part and what is putting me at harm's risk? And that level of understanding, how do I keep my family safe? What if this causes more harm for my family? There's so many things, and not that he's not family, but like in this level of family. And like there's so much in that depth. And Letitia talking about sacrificing her something that she loves for her brother and like how she can do this and does this really help? But what if it doesn't help? And then her praying that this is like about the story of Abraham and Isaac, about like him being told he has to sacrifice his son, but him being stopped, that they just need to see the willingness and hoping for that as well, which it did turn out that way.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a depth of story, and the fact that it was based on something that did occur, because even today we know people, especially people of color, Black men, women of color, Black women, are unjustly punished. So they may have done something, sure. But the amount of sentencing and the persecution level is so disjointed and unjust. And it's happening today. We've seen it. We've seen so many things and how society really does look down on people of different economic places. So it's heartbreaking. So this one got me. I was like, oh, God. Oh, Letitia, don't kill the cat. No, I know, y'all. It was too much. I was like, no, why do? By the way, apparently Due really loves cats. She does say that. Like she has her own cats. So you can see themes of cats throughout.
Also, the cat Midnight in the story was like, no thanks. When Letitia's like, come back.
At first she was like, no, he said, yeah, go ahead. I understand. And then like, hell nah. And was like, don't touch me ever again. What did you do?
We are going our separate ways.
Rightly so.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Oh, so there's that one. And we're coming back to another one. Maybe it was just the placement of the back-to-back of these stories, because this one's another one that was like ripping at my heart.
Yeah.
Like I think I was listening to it in the car and I had to sit in the car after a part for a good minute because I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
And just a note about this one before we get into it, it's written as like journal entries from a little boy.
Which I have a story like that.
Oh, okay. Maybe we should feature that.
I love it. No, it's a very short story. All mine are short stories.
These are short stories.
It is. I don't know if I have a collection.
Okay.
But here we go. So Patient Zero is the title of this one. We meet a young boy, Jay, who is in isolation. He was considered patient zero, though, as he says, his father is the one that passed the virus to him and his entire family. But he got that from a job he was on while traveling on, I believe, a ship. But Jay was alive and he seemed okay. His whole family was not okay. All of them died one by one. He had his doctor, Dr. Ben, his favorite nurse, Veronica, and his tutor, Mrs. Manigat, who often came to see him. Yes, the story is in journal form. Jay was given in order to pass his days and keep a record. We learned that the staff actually stopped him from watching TV as he had seen something disturbing and upsetting reports about him.
Yeah.
So they took all that away and gave him like tapes. And then slowly they just started taking all of it away. He received an autographed picture of Dan Marino and even received a call from the president saying that they were rooting for him. He later thinks that Dan Marino's autograph looks similar to Dr. Ben.
Yeah.
But, you know, he tries not to think about that too hard. His family, like we said, have all died due to this disease. Even his aunt, who had come to help before knowing what was making them sick. And he talks about how he wished she never came.
Yeah.
Soon after the incident, Veronica accidentally pokes herself with a needle, causing a tear in her suit, and we find out that she has died from the same illness, and we slowly see people disappearing from his life. The last person he interacts with is Miss Manigat, who gives him the code to the doors, because all the codes and all the things in the hospital are secured with codes to leave if he is alone and is getting hungry. So she brings him a cold oatmeal, and that's the last thing he gets. And she tells him this code. Throughout this time, the power is flickering off and on in the building. He can't figure out what's going on. People have slowly disappeared. People are kind of being mean to him, like all these different things. And that day comes where he is all alone and hungry. At one point, the power is out and he doesn't know what to do because he can't get out because all the secured doors are operated through electricity. Finally, the power does come out and he leaves the hospital. He goes downstairs to the kitchen first because he knows he can't. He doesn't want to get anybody sick. And by the way, that's a big thing. He doesn't want to get anybody sick, and he knows that he is getting people sick. So he's trying to stay behind. But he goes to the kitchen and there's no food left. And so he moves on and leaves a note in his journal that says, "I am going to get food, but I promise I will come right back and stay in isolation. Please, I'll be back. I'm so sorry." But he goes out into the parking lot and sees that it is desolate. There's nobody around, and everybody is gone. And he goes out to go find food.
Yep.
Y'all, I'm upset about it right now. I'm thinking about this. Essentially, she writes, Due writes that this was about isolation and loneliness and innocence. And it is. He is upbeat throughout. He talks about how he doesn't write when he's sad. And so he comes back and each day is dated, or what day it was and the slow, and how Miss Manigat, even to the end, was fighting for him because she volunteered to come and see him to begin with, to tutor him. And then she fought against the doctor. After Dr. Ben dies or disappears, another doctor comes and she has to fight with him to come and see him. Come see Jay.
Yeah.
And she tells him the truth. She's the one person, no matter what, even if it's not great. If it's not great and she doesn't want to share, she says, "We're not talking about this right now," or "You don't need to know this right now." But she doesn't lie to him.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were taking a lot of blood from him and trying to study him. So you could see that throughout. But it was really heartbreaking because he was so upbeat. And he did hearing him write as a child and knowing you see these adults come in, but you can't entirely get the full picture of what's going on, but it's bad. Yeah. It is not good.
Right.
And so that juxtaposition of having kind of this innocence and this hopefulness and these connections to Veronica, who died, and then Miss Manigat, and then kind of finding out at the end, it's just as bad as I thought it was.
Right. So this actually starts the apocalypse portion of the book. So the next 4 more stories will be about essentially the end, apocalypse. So it is that theme throughout. So buckle in.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, zombies, which, spoiler alert, there are going to be zombies later.
Actually, right now, I think.
Yeah.
So, let's jump into this. We're into the next one called Danger Word. We have Kendrick, who is currently staying with Grandpa. So this is where we're at. During the time of infection and maybe the apocalypse, Kendrick had escaped his home and was now living with his grandpa, who had rescued him. Things had been bleak and scary, but he was learning to survive with his rough and tough grandfather. So this grandfather is kind of like a end of time preparer.
Survival as a prepper.
Yeah, a prepper.
Yeah.
Not intense, but like he was ready. Like
Yeah.
at this point, he had the things ready to go. The day that we read the story, they decided to head to a gas station to get supplies and maybe even a Coke for Kendrick, who had requested it, which was the first time he had spoken to his grandfather since arriving at his Grandpa Joe's and his Grandpa Joe. He had hidden previously, right before he was rescued, he had hidden in the safe room and was waiting for his grandpa to come out. And they had a danger word. And this danger word was the only way he would come out. His mom was like, do not let anybody in unless it's your grandpa saying the danger word. And not even his mom or dad knew this word. It was just between Kendrick and Grandpa Joe. So they're back, and as they're making their way to the store, Grandpa Joe was hyper vigilant of the surroundings, like wouldn't slow down for anybody, kept moving, reminding Kendrick how to use the gun he had given and how to be careful. So like every step of the way is teaching Kendrick to survive and what to look out for and how to survive. Arriving at the gas station, they see the owner, Mike. So in between all this, I will say Kendrick was given an option to stay with a neighbor who is called the dog lady or to come with a grandpa. And because he actually said words, Grandpa was so excited and had to fulfill his wish, which was to get a Coke. Mm-hmm. So he was like, come on. And this was kind of that driving force of why they were going to the grocery store. Yes, they needed supplies, but now the Grandpa Joe had even more motivation. He had to get him this drink. Mm-hmm. So arriving at the gas station, they see the owner, Mike, who has been a friend of Grandpa Joe's for a long while, who seems a bit weird, but he's coherent. And from what Grandpa Joe understood, if you're a zombie, you can't speak words, you can't communicate. So, but he's, so coherent. All right, cool. Mike tells them he has hot dogs. Come in. So during this time, Grandpa Joe is kind of looking around, still suspicious, because Mike has sons, and where are they? Usually they're with him, helping him, but he doesn't see them. And he asks, where's your sons? Mike doesn't answer. He just says, come and get hot dogs. And then he's like, no, but where's his son? He's like, they're around. Come get hot dogs. Very jovially, I guess. As they walk in, they see the TV is on with Archie Bunker shows taped. And Mike is having a good old time watching the show. They look for supplies. But soon, again, Mike is carrying on, laughing about hot dogs. Again, something is still odd. But it's too late. At this point, Mike attacks Grandpa Joe, biting him. And during this time, they have a whole scuffle, and Kendrick shoots Mike and is able to stop him. However, Grandpa Joe has been bitten. During this time, Grandpa Joe knows it's too late, but they needed to get out for Kendrick's sake because Mike's son's around here somewhere. So they rush quickly to get into the car and start driving. Slowly, Grandpa Joe knows he's turning. And when he asked Kendrick what happened to his parents, he said they got sleepy. They got sleepy and they didn't know what was going on. They did know what was going on, but they just kept saying they were tired. And he was like, okay. He felt that. He felt the numbness of his leg where he was bitten, and he was getting sleepy as well. In his mind, he's cursing himself and trying to think about the fact that Mike spoke to him. And then he realized when he had arrived at Kendrick's home to get him, he thought he had imagined his daughter saying daddy, which is something he hadn't heard until she called him to come get Kendrick, and realizing that he did say that. So she was talking to him when he shot her and Kendrick's dad. So during this time, he's realizing, okay, they are essentially evolving is what he is figuring out. Like they are aware and all these things. He tells Kendrick that they can't drive for long. When they stop, he needs to run, go towards rescue centers, which is what they heard on the radio when they were driving, and to keep going. And no matter what, if he heard something approaching, yell and shoot. And that's essentially what he says. So Kendrick is trying to do all these things, saying, Grandpa, no. But then he gets it together, gets his coat, gets his gun, and runs as Grandpa tells him to go. Grandpa is trying to turn the gun on himself, but he's slowly turning too much. And in his mind, we can see, and we can read what's going through his mind, which is like he wants to be alive, this new zombie speaking in his mind, essentially, and talking about how he needs to go get Kendrick. He needs to go get Kendrick. Yeah. And we see Kendrick hiding in the forest because he's too tired to run. And it's getting dark. So Kendrick sits with his gun. He hears something approaching, and he hears his grandpa saying the danger word, breakfast.
Yep.
End.
Yep. Ooh.
This was the story that Due wrote with her husband, Stephen Barnes. She writes, after years of collaborating on film and TV pitches and projects, Danger Word was my first prose collaboration with my husband's science fiction writer, Stephen Barnes. And it's kind of the beginning of a few of their projects together.
It was a rough
Keep
one.
messing with me with these kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's so great at the open ending.
Yeah. Everything is that, like, you don't quite know.
It leaves your imagination is where the worst things are going to happen. And she knows that. She's like, ooh.
I can't remember. Did this one straight zombies? The other ones that we're about to hit has like a disease that just wipes people out. But this one had this was the only one that I think I read with zombies.
Yes, I believe so. But I loved it. And it's funny because at the end, her husband has kind of an afterword and he talks about difficulty of like being with someone and writing with them and working with them and how they worked it out through this. And so it's interesting to read it knowing kind of that this was their first time doing it. But I mean, it was so creepy. And then when Kendrick finds out the truth about how his grandpa shot his parents, because he didn't know that at first.
Right, no.
That was a really emotional beat.
Yeah, conversation that they were still there.
Yeah.
That they might be still there. Like, it was an odd, like, it was weird as Grandpa Joe was so serious and, like, down to earth. You need to grow up. You need to do these things. You need to do these things. But he still was trying to protect him as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Like, giving him, like, promising him a Coke, which he shouldn't have tried. Like, he should have immediately realized something was wrong. But, like, all these things because he needed to fulfill something that would make Kendrick happy. There's so many things to that. And had Kendrick stayed with the dog woman, maybe he would have. Maybe he would have figured out quicker. But like he was so like focused on both the child and this. Or maybe he wouldn't have. And he would have just died there and Kendrick wouldn't have ever known what happened.
Oof.
But he would have been safe.
Yeah. That's rough.
Okay, we're jumping into the second apocalyptic one, or the third one, I guess, really. And it's removal order. This one got my gut. Dude, we need words. You're making me angry now that I'm thinking about it. As good as these stories are. So we have the 72-hour flu has brought havoc among the population, and we meet Naima. Naima, who is currently taking care of her cancer-ridden grandmother, who essentially is just living on pain meds. She decides to move her and her grandmother to her neighbor's house, who has already fled to go to the high desert away from the fires close by, which was caused by people in order to eradicate the 72-hour flu. Her grandmother's home is covered in fleas due to all the animals in the house, including two of her grandma's beloved cat, and Tango being the one that she loved the most. But she like let them out because she was like, we can't feed you and you don't want to be in here anyway. But the house is covered in fleas and because there's no way to get him out, Naima's like, we're going to move. So after a painful move, like that whole envisioning that move, because her grandmother is in so much pain from bed sores, from cancer, from all the things. And as she is moving to the other area, a cop arrives and letting her know that she would have to leave in 48 hours. So everybody's being told leave because they're essentially going to set the place on fire. Yeah. And it didn't matter who was there. You're going to get caught in that fire. As he advised her to go, no matter what, he leaves some frozen chicken with her that they had found, letting her know, again, that she has to leave. But, here's this. You can cook this for today and cook me some too. Mm-hmm. Essentially, like while you're here. It's the first time she had meat in quite some time or anything like that, because I think she's been living off of like inshore and whatever food she could find. He says he'll be back the following day to eat some, and she gets it ready for him. Like the whole food scenes like this during this time get me. I'm like, I'm gonna need chicken now. The next day he comes back, and after she's already eaten some, but like she shares it with him, and they're eating, and he's talking to her. He talks about she needs to go. He seems standoffish but nice.
Yeah.
So she's kind of dealing with it. Soon he's like, I need to go inside. And she's like, okay, go in there. And the next thing she hears is a gunshot. And he comes back out, and she figures out what's happening. And as he leaves, he tells her to go to Santa Cruz, which is where his family is, gives her like card information, and just walks away and tells her to leave and tells her to not take anything. Just take what's in the car and go. Grieving and in pain, not looking at her grandmother, but covering her up. Naima loads the car. Tango comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
She puts Tango in the car, and then Tango's like, no, let me out. She's like, okay. So like that happens. And she sets off with her supplies. Honestly, I will say this, and just to add this, this weekend we had an issue with my neighbor's dog and like talking about him suffering and all these things. So this one felt like, I know humans and dogs different, but still like just having kind of some experience of like loss and grief and doing what's best. That was painful. Like I was like, oh, the suffering, but at the same time, it feels inhumane as well during the apocalypse, and then going back and forth a bit, like, but what do you do in this situation?
Yeah.
And like it feels so cold and cruel, but at the same time, like would Naima had stayed and been set on fire, but to sacrifice to be with her grandma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
that's a tough, like, because you want to be so angry at the cop because he took the choice from her.
Right.
But at the same time, he kind of spared her from having to make the choice.
Right.
It's messy. There's
so many things.
It's complicated. Yeah. Well, okay. Due said about this, the caretaking imagery in the story comes from the experience of watching my late mother, Patricia Stevens Due, suffer the effects of bed sores late in her life. The horror of losing a loved one feels as terrible as watching the world fall apart. Which we've talked about a lot. Grief is a big part of horror.
And it makes you want to cry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about this one was, you hear about the 72-hour flu. You don't know too much about it, but you know it's bad because they are setting whole places on fire. And I didn't know it was going to continue into multiple stories.
Yeah. I don't think we know about that until the end. The last one, and then like, oh, she's like, this is a trilogy. I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay, it's good to know, because we do find, because I was like, does she keep using the same name just because?
Yeah, I was confused at first too, but I was like, no, this seems.
Well, there's some like Nima was previously, and I was like, that sounds familiar, and the way that Graceland and the like McCormick's keep coming into play, I was like, maybe it's like that,
right?
No. So speaking of which, so we're jumping into the part 2 with Naima, and it's called Herd Immunity. So Naima's back once again, but this time she is traveling. I think she's been in California, but she is traveling again in California on foot. We don't know what has happened. She's got some primate feed is what it's called. So I'm assuming like animal food. Like pet food? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if there was like testing on monkeys. That might be an implication, which is really sad and gross, but that happens. So we don't know. But she found that, and that's what she's eating to survive. And she's got a little bit of water, but she's going to need to find things. So she is traveling through. She spots a man ahead of her with a guitar and decides to follow him because she's like first person she's seen. He's here. Like, again, this one doesn't really have zombies. I thought maybe they had zombies.
Yeah.
But I don't because I thought maybe he was one.
Mm-hmm.
No, but we have looters and of course all of that. But she is prepped with her gun, but she sees him and she tries to talk to him, but she slowly starts following him. She's like, he seems like good stock. And she's imagining herself with him. Like there's this level of like desperation in saving the world, like through her and this man. And she's like, he plays guitar. Good enough.
Yeah.
I can do that. So after following him around, finding his trail of candy wrappers, he leaves behind Twizzlers, finds out that he's a Red Vines dude, which is dumb. Twizzlers all the way.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. They soon meet up at the County Line Road Fair or Rescue Center, as it's turned into. And she yells out to him. She's like, hey, what's up? All these things. And they start having conversation. And there they talk. And she tries to convince him they are immune. And he has his mask on and like all this protection on. And she's like, dude, you're not alive because you're so good at protecting yourself. We are immune. And she's trying to talk to them and being like, hey, we need to stick together. We're alive. We're immune. We can help the population. You know, we need to help each other. He's like, yeah. You stay there. You can stay there for the night, but we're not together. I'm here for a reason. I got my gun. You stay over there. You can take whatever you want. Just leave my guitar. Like all these things in order to be like, you stay over there. So they argue back and forth. And him's like, are you Marie Curie? Like, who are you? Like all these things. How do you know for sure? How have you tested it? Do you have a theory? All these things. And she's like, no, come on, man. You're alive. He's like, you're alive. It's almost been a year. It's like, is that long enough? And she's like, well, it's wiped out a lot of people. So it seems like it. They argue. And the man's saying he doesn't completely believe her and just tells her to stay your distance. She goes on to discover what's around them and look at the rescue center, finding anything she could, including finding a running car with a full tank of gas. She finds food and water and stocks up her PT Cruiser, her purple PT Cruiser.
Yeah.
She also finds the center where a dark liquid still remains, wondering what it is, but then she sees rows of shoes from families neatly placed, and then finds the closed barn with the smell of death. That's how she puts it. And there she's like, I'm going to take these shoes. Thank you for that. Like trying to pay homage, but also understanding the darkness here. She returns talking to the man who finally introduces himself as Kyle. Still persisting, she stays away, but they could hang out from afar and she can move on the next day. When he falls asleep, she sneaks over, stares at him, and kisses him because I was like, what the hell? Girl, no. The next day, Kyle is sick and vomiting, and she realizes what has happened, and she's like, oh, shit, I'm sorry. Of course, he can't hear her because he's in so much pain and sickness. Naima apologizes, gets in the car, and leaves.
Yep.
I was like, oh, no. Due wrote, I decided to imagine what the end of the world would feel like to one character. My answer, isolation. So, like, Naima's desperation in trying to find someone, really thinking she has understood this disease and really understood it. And it truly was. This man was careful. And with one fell swoop, she killed him.
Yeah, because he was like, he had gloves, he had a mat. Like, everything. He was saying, no, I literally have not come in contact
touched
with this.
Anything. Like, she's like, not even glass? Nope.
Yeah, but she did not buy it. And
forcibly kissed him.
Arrogance and, yes, forcibly kissing him. Because she wanted to prove to him, you're immune. She was like, I'm going to tell him, I kissed you and you're fine.
And her desperation.
Yeah.
In this, like, her desperation to find someone else, to find some companionship, to be, like, away from this isolation and find someone who could help start the world anew, essentially. That she really thought this would be the solve. And it wasn't.
No. That was awful.
Kyle. It was. And I was like, well, the heroine of the story is awful.
Yeah. And she kept, I mean, ultimately she was right, but she kept trying to like yell at him as she was following behind him. Like, that's not a rescue center. Like, they don't do that there. Right. It doesn't work. But he just wanted to go because he had these memories. And he was he was kind of in the like, this might be the last, let me have these good memories.
Right.
But
and if all those supplies are there, it would have been a good place for him to hole up.
that was a rough one. I feel like everyone were like, "Oh God, that one."
Oh, why? Why? So we're moving on to the third one, which is carriers. And this story, again, is with Naima, but it takes place in 2055. At this point, Naima is jaded and has been through some things. She was isolating herself to what she called Naima land, which is like hundreds of acres of dead farmland that she was like, I'll take it here, stay away from me, to all of humanity. And she lived there with her two pet cats, one of them being named Tango, and her chickens, where she got her eggs and like some of her fresh chicken, except the giant cats, feral cats, came to kill one of her prize Sunday chickens.
Yeah.
Damn cat. She had been there for some time after being released from captivity by the government, who had been experimenting on her and other carriers, as they were called, or those who survived with no symptoms. Like they obviously carried the disease, but had no symptoms and were healthy. They were used for treatment and vaccines from their antibodies in their bloods. They were tortured, essentially. And after release, they were allotted land as repayment. And some of those carriers actually created community together. She was saying that she and we're about to talk about Raul were the youngest in these encampments. And so they kind of like grew up together, essentially. But Naima did not go to be a part of these communities. She just wanted to be far away from everyone. Her one friend, and I'm putting that in quotes, is Raul, who was a bit younger than her. He came to give her share of supplies and water, the credits that she earned. And it was then that Raul told her that they had a child, that she had a child with him. She and Raul were forced to reproduce through though most of the specimens did not survive. He told her that there had been one that survived, and it was a young girl, not even with a name. She was just given a number, and she'd been raised there. And the marshals, as they were called, had made an agreement with him that if he and Naima could take this child and she could live with them if they agreed to terms. And we don't know quite what those terms are, but they just had to agree together and consent. But Naima didn't believe him and thought this was only a trick by the government because she's been tricked several times and they've come to our land and taken her and robbed her, essentially, a lot. Yeah. And she told him if he came with the marshals that she would shoot them. Rightly so. Later that day, Naima was forced to go to the schools to talk about her experience. And there, the reality kind of hit home that she may have a child that's aged or that's around the same age as some of these children. And it kind of overwhelmed her. But with this thought, she waited up all night for what she assumed was a trap by the marshals. But the following day, she was visited by Raul and two smiling, unprotected, they didn't wear any protection, marshals. And with them, 4-year-old young brunette girl came up on the porch. And to her surprise, the little girl had Graham's nose and plump, cheerful cheeks. And she knew. And she opened the door.
Yep.
It felt like a happy ending.
Kind of. Yeah. So this is the end of the trilogy, and it's sort of like it began with her grandmother dying and ends with this young girl who has some of her grandmother's features.
Mm-hmm.
Again, she leaves so much open to the imagination. Hopefully it was. Hopefully it was a happy ending. Here's what Tu said about it. About this trilogy in particular. Each story in its own way is about seeking or trying to hold onto family. Naima has resigned herself to be without human contact or a human experience as a mother. After all she had been through, I wanted her to experience the kind of change we see unfolding daily, even in the face of fear and pain that has lasted for generations. Yeah. Yeah, because it's so fascinating to see this play out as the trilogy of like where it goes.
Yeah.
Because it changes so drastically. She changes so drastically. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And that part where she was talking to the kids and she has like these rules where she can't say like negative things about.
She can't say why she lost her teeth, which she had been beaten and raped by a marshal.
Yeah.
Because she pushed back.
Yeah.
But that's how she earns her credits, to be an experiment and on display.
Yep. And to talk about it.
We come upon a few more that is kind of a standalone as well. So, but it's a little more themed. And the next one is Senora Suerte. And we meet Gilberto, who is a resident of a nursing home after he suffered a few strokes. Here, he watched the people around him and he hated this place. This place was awful. One thing he did enjoy was going to bingo, but not necessarily to play or to even watch the bingo happen, but to watch for a certain someone. So there he spots his angel, who he says he can see beyond human form. One he can only see. One that is disguised as a nurse named Rosaria. He witnesses her touching a fellow resident, Pedro, seemingly healing his cough, who's been coughing throughout and having a hard time breathing, and giving him luck to win some bingo games. And that night, Pedro dies peacefully in his sleep. So we just know that and to him, this is something he wants. He desperately wants this peace. He definitely wants this luck because he is mala suerte is what he says, so bad luck. He is drenched in it. And that Rosario arrives again to another bingo game. And this time she chooses Stella, another resident, one who is hard of hearing, but one who ends up winning a couple of rounds of bingo as well. And she can hear better towards, like, so she can actually hear the numbers this time. That night, as Gilberto expected, Stella dies in her sleep. And no one really suspects anything because she was older. So they're like, yeah, maybe. He goes back and forth of maybe like thinking Rosaria is actually killing them. Don't know. Or unplugging machines. Who knows? He doesn't see her at any point in time other than bingo. Rosaria. At the end of the story, Gilberto has decided to participate in a round of bingo. And as Rosaria walks in, he's silently begging, as she is staring at him, bless me, save me, choose me. End of story. And in the Due writes, this was the prompt for the story. What if the unluckiest man met Lady Luck? And what does luck mean in a nursing home?
That's a good prompt. That is a good prompt.
You're going to write a story about this after we're done?
My fan fiction. Oh, people be so mad. They're so mad at me already. They're like, you're writing too much. Update your other stories. Don't you love when people think they have ownership of something they just enjoy? All right. So the last story we have is Vanishing. And we meet Nidra, whose husband has vanished. And even after almost a year, he is nowhere to be found. Everybody presumed him dead, except for Nidra. Nidra swears he ran away because their youngest daughter, Asia, was sick. People stared and made fun of Asia, saying she looked like a ghost due to her illness. People have been trying to help. Even a coworker of Carl's, who is the husband, who is trying to make sure Nidra gets the insurance payout that Carl had bought. So with this, she's like, oh, you planned this. You know where he is. Where is he? And the little coworker's like, no, we just want you to be taken care of. Nidra goes to visit where Carl had disappeared, wondering what happened. And this is the one that happened in Atlanta off of 285. So I was like, I wonder if I know where this is. A year later, again, this is that same year later, Nidra has started something with her oldest daughter's geometry teacher named Devin. The oldest, Charlene, does not like the situation. And there had been many fights between her and Nidra, but including the fact that Nidra cannot admit that Carl might be dead and Carl is gone. But Charlene loves her sister and has been there to help take care of her, Asia. We find Devin coming over this night to have mac and cheese with the family. Charlene seems to relent a little bit, although she makes sure she knows this is her territory. And you're she said, my nemesis. Yes. Get him.
but he seems to be very kind and very open with the girls and Nidra, and wanting to make sure that they're okay and safe. After dinner, Devin leaves, but Charlene helps Asia get a bath. She obviously really takes care of Asia like the second mother.
Mm-hmm.
As they get ready for bed, Nidra notices how sick Asia looks. She writes, a splash echoed behind Nidra from the bathtub. Suds parted at the foot of the tub as Asia sat up, a watery shadow against bathwater, the color of the ocean. The bubbles clinging to Asia's hair and face framed her features. Nidra couldn't believe how pale Asia was since her last bath. Her bare skin was nearly invisible. So this is all in realization that she hadn't been aware of how sick Asia really was until she saw her in this form and talks about her slowly vanishing.
Yes. Yep. And this is the last one. Here's what Due said about it. Throughout my writing career, I have sought ways to convey the feelings and images of death and dying as my own coping mechanism. This story, first written in the wake of my mother's death in 2012, has never before been published. I am still trying to understand how our loved ones can simply disappear.
This hits too hard because there are too many times. Because again, especially maybe when you're not around them constantly, and so when they die, it might not feel real. And you come back to see them in that same place and they're just not there. And that level of trying to figure that out and what to do with that emptiness. They're just gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And when my dad was sick, I didn't see him all that often. And when I would, he would shrink, like he was vanishing, disappearing. And it is bizarre. It's hard to square with, well, where did they go?
Yeah. And how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Once again, grief and horror. Oh my goodness. And I would also say one of the main themes in a lot of these stories is parentification. And this story, I was thinking about that one a lot.
Right. Well, the fact that she, Charlene tells Nidra towards the beginning that she's the queen of denial.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. Well, clearly there's so much to talk about with these. They were all really powerful.
Obviously.
Yeah.
When I say haunting, lingering, when I have stories that linger.
Yeah.
I can't read stories like this often because they linger too long.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be thinking about some of these for a long time.
But obviously that's the mark of a good writer. And she's an amazing writer.
Yes. And like I said in the part one, I love how she just showcased all of the genres. All of the genres horror can be. It can look all kinds of ways. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to read more from her. But yes, listeners, please let us know if you have any thoughts about any of these, any other recommendations for books or anything else. Please let us know. You can email us at hello@stuffmonevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff One Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have a TeePublic store and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff One Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.